hope for the best. Okay, there, going again. Frickin' I moved the router. I just gotta pray and hope. Jesus Christ. I don't know why. I might just have to cancel, because if it's gonna be like this, I'm just gonna have to solve the issue somehow, somewhere. If it at least holds to a basic level and doesn't collapse on itself, it's fine. That is all I ask. Again, I do know of a better internet plan, objectively speaking, but the problem is it's like almost twice as expensive as the one I got now, and this should be as good, but I cannot tell you why, for some reason, despite being in a pretty optimal location, its signal wants to be unstable as hell. At least when I'm connected to it. It's gotta be some weird... I'm genuinely wondering if it's my PC. Like, I don't know if it's just my PC, because I swear to God I've had problems with this for a while. Like, I don't know if it's something about my PC's Wi-Fi adapter, or if it's just the fact that various updates... Because, let me put it this way, my PC for a while has been desperate to try and convince me to upgrade to Windows 11. I have not. I have refused to, because I already have enough trouble getting some stuff to run on Windows 10. And I feel like if I go to Windows 11, it's like, no, stay on Windows 10. Like, it wants me to go to Windows 11. I am almost confident some of the PC problems I have are because recent updates are probably messing with shit to try and convince me to go to Windows 11. I would be entirely unsurprised by that. Whatever. Let's just hope this one actually holds and I can go more than 15 minutes. It seems to be holding better. Not by much, though. God. Okay. It at least seems to be holding better, so it probably won't, like, frickin' assassinate itself. It's not gonna be super high quality, but hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. God, if only I could afford it. But no, the answer to that is no, not really. I'll figure this out later. Frickin'. I'll stop streaming at like 9. We'll go for like an hour. Let me actually set like a timer on this thing then. Let's see, 60. There. That'll actively set a timer. So now we can just have that do what it's got to do. Done. Task. New task. Right. At least 500 words before stream is done. There. So, I've set something to my to-do list. Hey there, Morningstar. I frickin' would have, I did technically start 15 minutes ago, but I was having internet issues and had to relocate my router. And also, hello, to introduce you to a secondary model I'm going to occasionally fuck around with. A Vroid that I frickin' cobbled together because I want to experiment and I'm being weird. Could have probably just set up my, reality model, but I didn't feel like it. Did not feel like it. I wanted to test this out and see how it went, because I'm also testing a app for this. So it works pretty well, all things considered. And then we're here to write. I need to figure out what the hell the problem with my internet is, and I was talking about like a second ago. I'm almost confident it might be a PC issue, because I've never had so many problems with my internet signal until after my Wi-Fi router started to, well, my Wi-Fi adapter started to act up for some reason. It might just be because it's old. It might just be because this PC is fucking old. Well, the part in particular is old. Let me actually look that up. Amazon.com. Back up to that. Let's see, like, EC Wi-Fi adapter. How much would one of those fucking cost in order to replace it? Now, what does it even look like is the question. Like, what the hell does an internal Wi-Fi adapter for a motherboard look like? EC Wi-Fi adapter gaming. Okay. I mean, there's ones that like you plug in. It's basically meant to be like a signal antenna, but I'm talking about like the internal part. Some of the scenes are fucking ridiculous looking, man. Wi-Fi card. See, this is one of those moments where I'm just like, I might just need to open up my PC again and just like give a good hard look at the internals and find out what the hell it's got. Because this is just one of those situations where like, either I need to upgrade my PC, probably do. This thing's like 4 years old. So, yeah. Okay, does this thing actually... Okay, does this app actually have to connect to the internet? Is that why I'm having a problem? No, because I already turned it off before and that wasn't the problem at all. So I can't say what the problem is. Okay, whatever. I will worry later. Let's chill. Let's calm. Let's relax. And I'm gonna get some writing done. Want to do at least 500 words. Music's glitching. That absolutely tells me it's gotta be because this thing uses Wi-Fi. Which is this one? No, it does web music browser, so it's not... It's just being weird. Once again, hello, I hope it's doing better, because at least it's holding to a relative range now with the signal. Again, I've been talking about it. It might be just my, might be something with my PC's Wi-Fi chip. I don't know. I need to check it. I don't know how to check it. This is a problem. I bought it pre-built because I do not have the chops to custom build a PC. So that is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to relax. I'm going to chill. I'll worry about it later. That way we can just get back to chatting, chilling, not worrying about it too much. Ugh. I don't know why, but not going to worry about it for now. I seem to have relatively somewhat fixed it, so I would love to have it connected by Ethernet cable, but unfortunately that does not seem to be possible. But there is informing me there is going to be pollen. Okay, I'm going to keep the Roku TV disconnected for now. I will connect it later. Let's disconnect my phone. Just to be safe. Just to be safe, I even shut off the Wi-Fi on my phone. Just to be extra safe. Yeah, that is the problem I deal with. Anyway, let's get to writing. I'm trying to at least finish another scene of the current chapter I'm on. Is that why I have next week's freaking update ready to go? If I can figure out some of my Wi-Fi problems, because I plan to stream Yakuza Like a Dragon tomorrow, because I got done with the grinding I was going to do, and by that I mean I totally didn't use a trainer to increase the EXP gain. What do you mean? I totally don't hate grinding in RPGs when the grinding gets slow and it has proportional EXP. What do you mean? I'm kidding. Or am I? But anyway. Alright. What I'm waiting on is one chapter from one of my fanfics, actually, because my, the guy who offered the beta read got to it, so I don't think he's done yet, though, because he has not messaged me back about it, so I think he is still working on that. Probably wants to give it another pass. If I had to guess. Freaking cracking my finger like that. Oh boy. Vibrated. No, I don't think anything did. I think I was just feeling weird. Ugh. You know what? I'll check it when I'm done. I need to focus. I need to not get myself distracted. I need to just... That's part of my problem. God, it's part of the problem with how I am. I get so distracted. I get distracted so easily. I am not sure why I'm like this. Yeah, again, part of it is I've had to talk about it before, and part of it is just a where I live situation. It is not a bad signal. It is a signal that is theoretically good enough to stream at like 1080p high quality. The problem seems to be stability. And it might just be because of where the signal is sourced from in terms of where the tower that's nearby, because that's a problem. It's not a landline Wi-Fi. It's a signal Wi-Fi. So it's why I had to move my router to my sister's room, for example, because her room has a window that is nearest the direction where the signal is coming from. So it gives it the best options. And sometimes, I cannot explain why, it just seems to decide to be very peaks and valleys unstable. I cannot tell you why. I can absolutely guarantee I do not have much stuff going on in the background. At least I'm pretty sure. Probably need to check freaking task manager for that. Because there's just some stuff that I'm like, I don't know what's going on. That, or I just need to freaking actually kick on something like, oh, I don't know, Opera's data thing. Let me actually turn that on. GX corner. I know that's the wrong thing. That is GX control. Oh yeah, no. I live in the US too, so it's like I can definitely get it done. Network limiter, shut the fuck off. Let's keep it to like this. There. RAM's not a problem, the network though is. I cannot that I might just need to do that. I might just need to actually remember that I use a browser that has a device that lets me limit the amount of my network it uses. Because that might be part of the problem. It might be because just Opera GX is running and it just is pulling from the signal itself to run what it has to. So it might just be part of it. Because it's not like I have like 20 tabs open. I think at best I usually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 tabs open at one time. I'm not like crazy about tabs. I don't have like 15 fucking tabs open at once. Let's close. Honestly, anything that I don't actually need right now. I'm gonna open a lot of this stuff up later. And things I really leave open when I'm doing anything are like, yeah, I can just open this back up when I need it later. I'll open it later. So minimal apps. The only tabs open are ones I need. I will reopen all my other shit when I am done. Okay. Yeah, that tends to be a thing that tends to be the case. Again, I don't know if this will help. It might as well be completely negligible. Let me actually, okay, GX control. Let's go back to you. Go to like SD video limitations. Oh, bandwidth, your connection speed might be affected. Hey, I don't fucking need it. The RAM. CPU limit. That way it does not go above, at best, oh, that's 33. Okay. There. I at least know the signal will not drop because I have an OBS setting turned on that will make sure that, freaking, it didn't freeze my mind. It was probably other stuff going up, so that might, I don't know. It didn't really seem to freeze, but again, it might have been the signal acting up, because occasionally, again, it's got weird peaks and valleys going on, and I can't blame it literally on anything else but where I live. My signal is good enough. It's just fucking unstable. And unfortunately, I don't know how to fix that. That is not on me. That is literally on the service provider. So, okay, I need to stop fiddling with that pocket knife. Actually, speaking of, because this is a chat VOD, I don't exactly need to record it. It's not like I need to make any clips. Okay. So, Oh yeah, no, I set this up deliberately. I would want to do the heterochromia with like my reality model. Unfortunately, reality does not let you do separate eye colors, but for this one I did. I did in fact want to do the separate eye colors. So if you're wondering why the blink instantly took over, it's literally my glasses. I was actually testing it, and I was testing the eye tracking on this model with the app I'm using called VCU, and part of it is depending on the angle in which I'm looking at. Basically, whether or not my PC screen, because I don't know why, because I do in fact wear glasses IRL, so the glasses on the model are not for show. I do in fact have to wear them too. I'm nearsighted as fuck. Like, I'm so nearsighted that just being a couple of feet away from me, my PC screens are blurry. I am blind as a goddamn bat from anything that is beyond a few feet in front of me. So the problem is, I don't know what it is with my lenses, but they're very reflective. So if I have them on, and depending on the angle that my head is at, the eye tracking will not work because the reflection of the screen is interfering with the camera's capture of my face. And so the eyes do not always work properly, which is like, I think part of the same problem with the eye tracking on my reality model too, is because the way I'm looking, there is a reflection that is interfering with the camera's ability to actually capture my eyes. So that is part of it. Oh boy, oh god, this chair of mine. Okay, so I've got a gaming chair, like many people, and it's a good chair. I've had this for a good couple of years now. It is very good. It is sturdy. It is held up, mostly because I don't abuse the fuck out of it. Like, I'm very careful with my things. It is the reason why I have a shelf of games that I've had for like 15 plus years, because I take very good care of my shit. I am very careful with my stuff. I tend not to I don't go through controllers too often, for example, because I don't rage break controllers, for example. Like, I don't think I've ever broken a controller because I got so mad at a game I just threw it hard enough to like embed it in a wall. I very rarely have gone through controllers, and I think the only reason that I, in more recent times, have had to go through controllers more often is not because of damage that I do to them, but because the lifespan of the materials that are used in modern controllers is much lower, because they want you to buy these things more often. I am very positive that if I used my PS5 more rigidly, and probably because I do use it as a PC gamepad for games it works with, my PS5 DualSense will probably eventually start to break down, because I've heard these things only have like 6 months of rugged use in them, dependent. Now granted, it's probably because I work a day job, so I really only game on the weekends, so I don't have like daily use, because I'm not like I stream all day. Like, I stream 5 times a week because it is literally my job. So I don't do that, so my stuff doesn't really get a lot of heavy use out of it. But I have heard that, for example, the PS5 DualSense controller, which obviously I'm holding up, you can't see, unfortunately this model does not come with... I could use hand capture, actually, but I would have to get trackers for it, and I don't have the money to get hand trackers. But basically, just what I've heard, I probably would have had to replace this thing already, because I got my PS5 around my birthday, so that was roughly 6 months ago. And I've heard these things usually last about 6 months. But, because of the fact that I don't rigidly play it, because I have maybe... Okay, well, to be fair, I have plenty of games to play on my PS5, because it's backwards compatible with my entire PS4 library, and that's like... Let me go count that real fast, actually. Hold on, let me go count my PS4 collection. Eight. 48 games, not counting the ones I own digitally. Like, on one shelf alone, I have 48 different PS4 and a couple of PS5 games. For this one PS5 that is on my desk that I am tapping right now. I have... See, okay. The reason why I have a collection that big is also because I'm not a big, like, seller. I'm not like one of those, oh, I play a game, I finish it, I'm probably never going to touch it again, so I'm just going to go sell it to GameStop or some shit, right? No, I keep that shit Because there is going to be a time, inevitably, I'm going to look at it on my shelf and go, you know what? I haven't played that in a while. Let's play that again. And I don't replay games very often. Like, I'm not one of those people who, like, has the... I'm not like a one-trick gamer, I guess you could say, I think is the term or whatever. I'm not like the... I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But I'm not a guy who has, like, that one game that I play incessantly that I have countless hundreds of hours poured into. The most played game, for example, on my Steam, because my Steam collection is also stupidly fucking huge, by the by, like, 318. I have 318 games on Steam. You can tell I've been collecting shit on this for a while. But my most played game, if I sort my library by, frickin', how do I view it that way? Recent games. Collections. Okay, I forgot how to sort it by, like, playtime. Oh, wait, I can... Damn, I did it before! Oh, wait, no, that's different. Duh. Okay. So, sorting my shit, right? My highest played game on Steam is Final Fantasy XIV at 836 hours. And that is because Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO with that many hours of content. I only have that many hours because that is how much hours that you can put into that game just playing through stuff straight on a single character. And I know people, because that game is over 10 years old, who have infinite times more time than that because it is what they play. My second game would be Call of Duty, technically MW2, because I played a lot of that when it came out because I'm stupid and I'm part of the problem. Right after that is Elden Ring at 172 hours, solely because, like, some of my most played games are weird shit. Like, Elden Ring is my third most played game, solely because of the fact I've put a couple of playthroughs into that, actually. Rust, actually, I've put a surprising amount of time in Rust. I've actually played 137 hours of that. Pretty good. Destiny 2. Oh my god, Destiny and... Me and Destiny have a sort of relationship. If I don't know how much time I put into Destiny in terms of PlayStation, for example, but in terms of PC, almost 80 hours on PC alone from when I got back into playing it on PC. But if we take my time from the first game and before I fell off it on PlayStation, pretty long. That'd probably be within the hundreds. I would probably actually be pretty up there. But yeah, that is just kind of the way it is. But I do not have... And let me put it this way. My shelf, that was just my PS4 games that I counted up. I have way more than that. I have Switch games galore. I have a pretty good amount of PS3 games still lingering around. Not a massive amount, but enough. And then there's, like, DS and 3DS games. I think I have about as many of those as I do PS4 games. Funny thing about this model, it can actually reflect when I am leaning in my chair. That is funny. That is funny. It can, in fact, reflect when I do a lean. My reality model can't do that. Unfortunately, it cannot reflect the fact that my arms are on top of my gaming chair's armrests. But it is funny that it can reflect when I do my lean. Because I actually do that a lot when I'm, like, streaming or when I'm chilling. I will actually do, like, a side lean quite a lot. But because the reality model and the way that tracks, you can't see it. You probably hear it, though, because this chair is old enough that it makes noise. It makes a lot of noise, actually. The only other thing I'll open up like, studio, just so I can keep track of that side. No, it is, in fact, a full body. It is a V-roid, so actually, let me zoom out and show that, actually. It is a full body. So, it is a full thing, with tail included. Because it is a V-Roid model, and these things are basically made for full body stuff. Like, if I wanted to, let me actually, hold up, let me open up OBS just so I resize myself properly. So, like, if I wanted to, for example, I could put this model into, like, a Unity modeler or something like Blender, and I could probably, like, convert this to a format to where, like, I could use it in, say, VR chat, which is part of the goal, actually. I do kind of want to try and convert this into a VR chat model. But the problem is, that takes some extra effort that I am currently unwilling to do right now. So, it would probably be as simple as port it into, like, some free 3D modeling thing that involves Unity. I've looked it up before. It's not hard to do. It's just a process. Like so many things on the internet, it is simply a process. So, ooh. Part of the other thing is like freaking face tracking. The expressions, I do actually have a good few expressions, just are from what are built in. It's like if I can mess around with it, but I did try this out with like another capture thing, like Animes, which was made by FaceRig, but that wasn't actually as accurate, surprisingly. So I looked it up actually for like this, and the app I'm using again is called VCFace. So surprisingly, for a completely free open source app, it is actually quite good. Surprisingly robust. It is not a like nice looking app. Its UI is actually quite simplistic. I don't need to show it because this thing is compatible with Spout 2 capture. So I can just use that. And Spout 2 is nice because it kind of instantly like only focuses on the model. But that is nice for me, as I'd say. Increase my movement range. Ooh. Oh, I can. The tail does have its own physics. But yes, the body is just going to be bone stiff because, well, capture. Again, if I had hand trackers, you would see that I talk with my hands. Unfortunately, again, I got a friend I could probably pay to make me some hand trackers that would probably be pretty decent. But I don't have the money for that, so... Unfortunately, the arms are not going to move, so you are not going to see my weird hand moving action. Because I do, in fact, talk with my hands a lot, like... It's just part of my habits. Oh, that voice crack. So, again, it is funny that at least it does catch when I lean, if only because of the fact that's just how the capture works. But it is funny. Again, if I had hand capture, you'd see that I'm, like, actively leaning on my desk. Yes, I am indeed the gesture friend. I am the friend who talks with his hands. No, it's not because I'm part Italian. I just do it because... funky neurodivergent stuff. That's basically it. Let's see. Honestly, at this point, it's just a lot of different stuff. That's what it is. Being American is a lot of different stuff. You can be American, you can be so many different things, because it's like, there's no definition. We're all a bunch of mutts. That's what it is. We're all just a bunch of mutts. Generally, though, of course, you will have some people who seem to make it their goal in life to, like, identify with one particular part of their heritage. I don't quite know why they do it, but hey, power to them for trying to find a connection to a culture that they have an interest in. Let me actually bump this back by one. I'm gonna... That more level? Seems like it. My eye capture's having a bit of a problem. Okay, let me actually hit the reset position. There we go, that might help. Okay, now this is being weird. Okay, hold up. I need to make sure I'm looking right at the camera when I do that, because if not, it's going to be weird. Okay, Got it. You can tell I'm so used to something that just handles most of it itself. Reality is like, it functions on its own way a bit too easily, so it's like, okay. Because that one works a bit weirdly proportionally, like to the phone, like it defaults tracking a certain way. So, you know, when it comes to having to actually set up my webcam or something like this, it is what it is. Okay, actually, let me check this. Oh, okay, cool. Then that happened. There we go. Brief interruption. I am technically running a game in the background for the sake of the thing. It's just a thing I got that's supposed to be like, it helps, you know, it's like lo-fi music, chill stuff, sound effects. It has some little gamey things, you can set up a scene, whatever. Nice thing, I use it, it helps with concentration. To be fair, Dia de los Muertos is actually pretty neat in terms of a holiday, and I apologize if I butchered that. I have forgotten how to pronounce stuff in Spanish properly because last time I did anything with Spanish was like, I think it's Dia de los Muertos? Pretty sure that's how you say it properly. Gotta put a bit of emphasis on the E, if I remember correctly. But it is a fun holiday. It is like a fun holiday in terms of like the comparison to like Halloween stuff. Day of the Dead, fun stuff. Let's see. Okay, trying to set a goal. I'm trying to like get a certain count going. I'm trying to at least do like 500 words before the stream is done. And so far, I have spent a pretty good amount of time yapping. But you know what? That is part of what, you know what? Yapping is part of what these streams are for. That is part of the idea, is that we come here and we yap. Yeah, I know that most people will like translate it, but it's like I live in an area that's like pretty heavy, like pretty heavily Mexican, so it's just a name that came up pretty often. Like the Spanish name would actually come up. So it's like, it's just part of like, I live in an area where there's a lot of Mexican bleed over. So, you know, actually learning how to say the name just sort of came up as I was growing up. Well, growing up with air quotes, more so when I was in high school, but you know, that's a conversation for another time. Okay. 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 I need to look up some of my terminologies for my novel, because I'm like, I need to be like, okay, what would her title actually be? But it's like, what would this character's title actually be? Let me go to that. Get them to keep a note on the pantheons. Ay. Okay. So what's B? Oh. Yeah, I didn't get that look. See, my family does have some, like, Latin heritage, and my grandfather speaks Spanish, actually. Like, he'll speak Spanish at the drop of a hat, given the chance. Unfortunately, he did not teach my father or my uncles how to speak Spanish, so that skill was never passed on to either my dad or to me as a result. So, like, I tweeted about it, actually, a while back. I made a joke at it that, like, multi-ethnic Americans, that, like, at least just Americans in general, our chances at being multilingual purely come down to our heritage. Like, it is, you can either learn it yourself, and hopefully you do it when you're young, because it's much easier to pick up languages when you're young, or you are born into a multilingual family, and they pass it on to you. So, unfortunately, being multilingual in America is a complete crapshoot. It is not considered a basic requirement like it is in many other countries, where you're generally learning your native language and probably English, compared to, like, here in the US, where you will most assuredly learn English, and whatever other language your family happens to speak based on where they're from. And that can be a complete crapshoot. So, like, again, like in my example, my grandfather speaks English. Unfortunately, he did not teach my dad nor his brothers to do it, and therefore, subsequently, I did not learn how to speak English in an innate, family-past, native way. It just kind of fell out of the fucking gene pool. And no one on my mother's side of the family speaks a different language, because I'm pretty sure her ancestors have been in America so long that whatever language they did speak before they emigrated here was just completely a non-factor at some point in the family line. Compared to my dad's side of the family, where my grandfather is Puerto Rican. So, I don't know why the fuck my dad doesn't know how to speak Spanish. He was just never taught to. I'm not sure he had too much of in it. He probably would have had an interest in it if his dad actually bothered to teach him how to speak it. So, yeah, I was just kind of shit out of luck in that regard. Yeah, no. See, that is the thing. Teachers will often try to skirt around certain words. See, my problem growing up as a kid is, while I didn't curse much as a kid, and I grew into it as I got older and I stopped fucking caring. But I grew up in a military household where cursing was just a natural part of the vocabulary. I was told not to do it, not because my dad was against the language, but because I was young and he didn't want me talking like that at school. And even then, I'm generally pretty good at keeping my language in check when I'm out in public, because I know, hey, people consider casual cursing to be pretty rude, so just don't do it when you're, like, out in public or you're at work. So I'll generally avoid doing it. But there were times at work, because I work a job where I generally don't have to interact with people, but the rare times I do, the rare times I have had to interact with people, most of the time people will not bother to actually approach me or talk about my language. But one time, me and my coworkers were just having a casual conversation. We're just talking like we usually do, which does include a hefty amount of casual cursing and very, very overt use of the word fuck. And one time, this lady felt a need to walk up to us and lecture us on our language and how dare you talk that way openly in public. And I felt bad for the husband, because he was just standing there in the background staring at her like, the fuck are you doing? Don't bother these guys. Just leave them alone. But unfortunately, she felt the need to try and be mad and give a lecture to some young guys just doing their day job. Some people, man, it's like when you work a public job like that, it's like some people just have such an attitude with you for no other reason than the fact that they just like feel like they have some right to talk to you the same way your bosses would. If not even worse, actually, to talk to you as if they are your boss, actually. Okay, back to writing again. Let's see where I am, because I'm trying to at least hit my goal. I am a little halfway to what I want to do. Halfway. Okay, good. This is actually good. Oh boy, almost done. Oh no. Okay. Okay, it will be fine. Oh boy. Having a bit of a conversation with some people on Discord. I'm like, look, I have no shame in saying this character from this particular manga is a bit of a wood. You know, a bit of a wood. A bit of a wood. Like, I can look at that and go, wood. See, that's the funny thing about, like, multilingual parents. Like, if they primarily speak another language over, say, English, authority figures in schools will usually be caught off guard when they proceed to snap at them in their native language, because it's not the one they use at home. So it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, what do you mean? I don't know. Oh boy, and they'll usually be extra mad about it too. Let's see. Okay, so that's news. Let's see. Yeah. Usually in moments like that, you will have to leave it to the task of the person who does somewhat speak it better. Okay. Not to get too distracted. See, okay, so one thing I will say with my writing, one thing I've tried to do is I've generally tried to set up a rule, because of the fact I am writing my own novel and trying to get deeper in so I can, you know, actually maybe hopefully start making some fucking money off of it, is I try to do a process of, as I'm writing a chapter, of as long as I either finish the full chapter or get a segment done, then I'm like, okay, then I'm free to like work on, say, one of my fanfics for a bit, do some of that, do a chunk of a chapter for that too, rinse and repeat, flip between them. Generally, I try to keep a focus up because I do weekly updates for my novel. I try to like, because I have to kind of piecemeal the chapters as I go. Just because of the way the format works. Like, my usual chapter size is too long for, what the site considers long, quote unquote. This is a place where, like, they consider 2K words in a chapter to be a long chapter, and I'm like, dude, my average is like 4K to 5K per. Like, that is, like, barely half of a usual chapter for me. It doesn't mean, though, I can piecemeal chapters and cut them up into multiple segments, so I usually get a month's worth of updates out of, like, one chapter. I want to try and be more diligent of doing multiple chapters at a time, so that way I can, like, kind of backlog and build up a suitable amount of stuff to update on the week. Maybe I want to try and do more so I can get to, like, 2 updates per week, just so I progress faster. But it is what it is. Part of it is just because I also work a day job, and that eats up a lot of time and mental strength for me. But it's like, when I go, and I just don't stop. But then I don't, and I'm like, I could sit on a chapter for like a month because I'm just stupid. But I will say, actually having not a full deadline, but a pseudo deadline in I want to try and at least just upload something once a week, does encourage me to actually make progress. I would not be on the second arc of my novel if it was not for this. Like, I did 16 chapters of varying length for the first arc, and that totals around 80,000 words. So I can do it. I know I can. Let's see where I'm at. Just progress check. Okay, bit more. Almost to my goal. That is good. Let me freaking have one of my snacks. I pulled up some crackers for a snack. I have not had a single one. I also need a drink. My throat's getting dry because I've been yapping so much. You know, I'm trying to look up something in Japanese, just because I want to see what it'd say. Let's see, Google. I am going to Google Translate this, and I will apologize on the behalf of the. I will apologize for this. Dragons Festival. God damn it! All right, gonna have to do this the funky way. Festival, come on. Okay, let me just ratchet some stuff around. We are experimenting. I'm finding something out here. Okay, I don't really know which one it is, so I'll just freaking use the English name. Fuck it! Oh, wait, wrong kind of it's. Let's see. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. I think I've done cereal as a emergency dinner a couple of times. Usually never because it's like on purpose, but usually it's like a, oh, I really don't feel like cooking anything tonight, so I'm just going to do the easiest thing imaginable. So it just turns into, I'm just gonna make a bowl of goddamn cereal because I can't be bothered. Well, I mean, a part of it does depend. Yeah, it usually does. Like, depending on what I cook, I might end up, like, say, leaving a pan in the sink to soak for a little while, just so that way the water and maybe put in some soap to help break down anything left clean into it. But usually, like, if you get a good enough, like, sponge or something to help with the cleaning, you can usually just brute force it. But, yeah, that is sort of, depending on what it is, it's like, this is why, for example, okay, good, I got past the 500 marker. Boom. Here we go. Here we go. Hit the 500 word marker. That is the goal accomplished. But yeah, no, like, if you have a good enough cleaning tool, it usually makes the process a lot easier, but under some circumstances, yeah. Like, one thing I try to do, depending on what I cook, I will usually try to say, and I picked this up from my dad, is depending on what you cook, use aluminum foil or a baking sheet of some kind and put it over like a pan or some kind of sheet if you need to cook something in the oven, and just throw that away when you're done. Because especially if it's just aluminum foil, if you set it right, it'll catch like all the greases or oils. Then you can just bunch the foil up and toss it, and boom, you just have a clean fucking pan. Oh yeah, no, me and my sister got one of those scrub mommies too, and a scrubber and some Dawn dish soap. Just put a little bit of elbow grease, and goddamn, you can clean just about anything. But our mom also, because our mom visited us last weekend, and she did the usual mom thing where like she comes by and visits and feels a parental urge to help straighten the place up and make it look nice. So she spent God knows how much money getting us like shelves and other things to help with organizing. and all sorts of new stuff just to help make it a little cozier in our apartment, but also to help us use the space we had more effectively. So that's kind of part of it. One thing she got for us was, because we'd have to do everything by hand, because we do not have a dishwasher, was like a drying tub. So something that you can like stack plates, bowls, and whatever else in. So that way you can just wash it all, stack it in there, leave it for like an hour or two, and however long it's going to take to dry everything else out. And then you're just good. You just don't got to worry about it. Okay. Well, going well. Let's see where this segment itself is at currently. Because, see, part of the reason when I do this stuff is I need to find a segment to where, like, okay, where should I put it? See, yeah, no, see, so one of the things, though, like, before I moved out to my apartment, actually, my parents, well, my dad and my stepmom, to be precise, my parents got separated when I was way younger, but it's not, no trauma dumping. That's not, we don't do that here. But basically, my dad and stepmom have, for the longest time, been trying to, like, spruce up the house that they live in. So they don't do, like, they're not, like, full-on overhaul projects, but, like, they were replacing certain appliances, for example. Like, they got a new fridge, they got a new dishwasher installed, they got a new washer and dryer, so that way it was, like, nicer, better than the stuff they had, because, you know, that they had the money for it, since they are at two incomes, since my stepmom is a teacher, and my dad, well, they're both teachers, but for different things. My stepmom teaches elementary school, my dad does online college courses for, like, gunsmithing and shit. It's actually pretty cool. But it's like they have the income to do that kind of shit now, at least on the off and on. So, like, they do things like, oh, hey, let's, like, replace this old washer and dryer with new ones that are way better, more functional, that have more space, so that way it makes it easier to do our laundry and not have to do, like, 3 loads. And then a new fridge, because I wanted one that had more, that was a bit more spacious, that was a bit more convenient to use. So they did get that. Though they did buy it used, so it had some slight technical problems. Not enough to bust it, but nothing will top, though, when I moved into this apartment. Because when I moved into this apartment, for the first 2 weeks when I moved in, after me and my sister got moved in, we did not have a working fridge. Because, and I only found this out after, like, we spent, like, a couple of weeks being freaking nosy, antsy little motherfuckers. Yeah, I don't know how you'd lose a dishwasher on a truck. But to put it simply, what happened was the fridge that was in this apartment when we moved in was busted. We did not figure out until they finally, after like almost a week and a half of being nosy about shit, to send a technician down to look at it. And they did. It was like, oh, it's not working because the coolant system is fucking shot. Like, at some point, they don't know when, the fridge they had purchased, I guess, for that unit, had been dropped right on its cooling unit. So the back panel was totally dented in. And then, it had rendered basically the entire, like, cooling system some degree of burnt. And I guess the thing is, the people who lived in here before me and my sister just didn't fucking notice. So I can't tell you why this wasn't a thing that the people who own these apartments figured out first. Granted, they also did not seem to bother to actually come into the apartment and give it a good proper scrub down and cleaning and check of all the stuff in it during the month in which we were waiting to move in. So I can't tell you about that. I just did a big shrug motion, and unfortunately, model cannot catch that. But God. But to put it simply, it basically means we spent a good while just like, oh, hey, we don't have a fucking fridge. So we had to get a mini fridge to tide us over and basically just not get anything that needs to be refrigerated for the first 2 weeks we were living here. So it was like all dry foods and soups and stuff that was non-perishable and on shelves, because we literally could not refrigerate anything. So we had to subside with 2 mini fridges for anything that did need to be refrigerated. So we had a mini fridge that I had been using back at my parents' house for a while, and then one that we bought to hold us over, because obviously we're not gonna not get stuff that needs to be refrigerated. So we're gonna get a little bit of that. But then the way it went was just like, oh hey, well, now we're doing this. Okay, cool. Timer's done. I'm still gonna go anyway. I'm not done yet. I'll actually get that level. Let's get that rank. Might as well screw it. Okay, what do I need to set up for this next one? It haunts those who spend too much time procrastinating in bed. I guess I need to, like... Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, those would generally be it. Ooh. Procrastinating in bed. What would I need to... Oh! Needs to set my little guy in this app to internet browser because that's procrastination. I get it. Oh, that's a good joke. Okay. That is a good one. That is a good one. See, I am, sir, eternally single. Like, I wasn't, like, my high school life was not, like, I had friends who were in relationships. Well, I won't say friends fully. I think in terms of high school, I could count the amount of people who I would actually genuinely call a friend on maybe 1.5 hands. But I knew people, I had classmates who I talked to regularly, so acquaintances, who were often in relationships. And so that obviously meant drama. And I was never for the drama that these relationships often had in high school. I talked to people who had their relationships. I knew plenty of people who were, and I was never about it. Like, it was so severe. I genuinely did spend a good chunk of time wondering if I was just asexual, because I felt so disinterested in romance in general. I was like, oh, it might be something with, like, my identity, my sexuality. And over time, I've kind of been like, no, no, I am heterosexual and I would like to be in a relationship at some point, but it's just not something I find to be of a priority in my life right now, because I think I'm more concerned with getting financially stable. Plus, I don't think I'm ready to, like, fully settle down, because I think I'm still a bit too young for some of that shit. Like, I was not, like, for example, I was not born until my dad was already, like, in his 30s. I was not an early kid. So, like, I had the fortune that I had a parent who was already pretty well into his own life. So kind of knew where he stood, knew where he was about things, and was able to raise me pretty well because of it. I do not think I would be a good parent. Jeez, yeah. See, my parents would not be that restrictive about who I date. They would just simply want to actually meet who I am dating and get to actually know them. Because, you know, they would like to at least know what that part of my life is like. But for me, part of it's just, I literally haven't met the right person. I am a very particular person. The problem, we could say, is because I am autistic as fuck. So, I am in a very particular niche of person who, good to be a friend with, but is going to be very particular when it comes to a deeper relationship. So I am in a very weird niche when it comes to romance and relationships. So it just kind of is what it is. Like, I definitely give ace vibes. I will never argue the fact that I definitely read as asexual, because I am so disinterested as a basic idea that I definitely read it. And it's why for a while I thought I might be. But no, I am indeed plain as white bread heterosexual. Some would say recovering heterosexual, I guess you could say, because, you know, I am he, they. Oh yeah, no. I was purely I was like diagnosed when I was in like middle school. I was given the full exam to diagnosis everything, which for my parents helped them because it helped them understand my behaviors a lot better. So it helped them get a better grasp of like, oh, how to interact with me, how to properly like discipline me, for example. Because, let's put it simply, none of the quote-unquote traditional methods they relatively knew for how to deal with a kid worked with me. It just didn't work. I would not respond to them because, like, it would overstimulate me, it would not register right. Like, anytime it devolved into, say, shouting, which is, like, you know, the authoritative, useful, usual routine would not work because... And I've gotten a lot better. I feel like I've gotten better at reading a room, but I still struggle with the idea of, like, catching onto a vibe, you could say, right? Like, I don't easily catch on to the vibe of a room when I walk in there. It usually takes me a second to catch on, but I usually do not, like, innately have a sense for the social climate of a given situation. And I do try to tell people this. I do try to inform them, hey, if I say something that sounds insensitive, no, I'm not trying to be a jackass. I'm just not keyed in to whatever vibe we've got going on here. So I apologize ahead of time and do try to correct me if I say something out of line, because I probably just haven't caught the vibe yet, and I don't know better, and I am not trying to be malicious. Which I have often found is a problem for me in life, because when you're not inherently malicious, but you still occasionally fuck up, it makes people infinitely madder because they cannot just default to snapping at your ass for saying some insensitive shit. Because the default reaction is, oh, this person said something insensitive, they had to have meant it. And the problem with me is I don't mean it. I'm not trying to be a jackass. I'm just saying whatever I think is appropriate in the situation. Okay, well, part of that is just because of the way the people on the internet, like, I don't want to go too deep into it. Other people and other channels have gone deeper into it and actually talked about it, and they are actually qualified to. The internet has a problem with romanticization, in general, as a whole. The internet likes to romanticize things, to try and make it sound like, oh, it's not actually that bad, it's actually cute and quirky, you know? Like, which it's not. Like, this is a thing, for me, that is a constant struggle. And I try to do my best, but it's not cute. Like, I don't think it's fun to have people go, oh, it's cute and quirky, being silly and autistic. And I'm like, this isn't fun. Like, there are genuine times that, like, I'm in a room and I'm like, I don't get what anyone is getting at here. And especially nowadays, like, especially nowadays with the social climate on, like, the internet especially, there are so many times that I'm looking, like, to my right, looking to my left, looking at what people are saying, and I'm just like, I don't get any of this. Because all of it sounds like nonsense to me. And I know some of it isn't nonsense, but my brain is, like, not processing it because I look at it, I think it through, and I'm like, it doesn't click. And I know for some people that sounds hella insensitive, and I don't try to be insensitive or mean about it. Like, I genuinely, I think, have a good grasp enough on certain facets, like, say, identities outside the norm, too. Like, I definitely feel like I understand those. But then I see other people, and I'm like, I see one side, I'm like, why are you getting mad at them? They're just trying to live their life the best way. But then I look at the opposite side, I'm like, some of these people are just genuinely kind of annoying to me. Not because of who they are, but because of the way they act. And, like, that's a problem. Because the modern climate of a lot of social things for some people is just don't be blunt and don't question because, you know, some people don't like to be questioned. And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to question. I do, in fact, want to trust people at face value. But it's like, there's just some things I hear that I don't want to be insensitive about it, but my, like, brain just goes, just, like, it just becomes internet dial-up of noises, and I try not to. But it's just how I work. Like, I try not to use this, facet of myself as an excuse to get away with stuff or to excuse behaviors, and I never will. I was taught very clearly early on, do not do this. Do not use the fact that you are neurodivergent as an excuse to try and get away with shitty behavior. So I don't do that. I don't try to use it as an excuse, but I'm also not like, let me be so upfront about it, it becomes the only part of myself that I talk about. Because I'm going to be genuine. I think me being autistic is the most boring fucking thing about me. Like, I joke about it and I'll crack jokes and I'll be self-deprecating because that's part of my humor. But I think it's the most boring thing about me that I could ever talk about. Like, yeah, I'm neurodivergent, whatever. Yeah, it's like, I see those TikToks and I'm like, I think it's like, it feels like over-exaggeration. Like, it's over-exaggeration trying to be cute and funny. Like, oh, when we do it, it's cute and funny because we're so interested and into it and hyper. And I'm like, that's not quite how it works, though. Like, yeah, like, again, you can't see it, but, like, I mean, you can hear it in how I talk. I often stutter, like, I'm trying to catch up to my own thoughts, or, like, stimming. I like, the way people will make jokes with stimming is, like, they over-exaggerate it so much. Like, it's not like, oh, like, for me, like, stimming, like, I'll often, like, say, tap my, my index and middle finger on my thumb, as, like, that's one of the ways I stim. But it's not like, oh, some people are like, oh, shaky hands when I listen to music. It's like, no, you don't do that. I know you don't do that. You're over-exaggerating for the sake of an internet bit. That's not what it's like. It's like, maybe you are genuine in your diagnosis. Maybe you are. But it's like, we don't get that over-animated. I don't get that over-animated. Like, I think the worst I do is, like, I'll bounce a leg, and I have had to train myself not to do it because I would do it so often that, like, my dad or someone else in their room would ask me to knock it off because I would bounce my leg so fast that, like, people would feel it, like, across from me in, like, a car, or, like, they just hear my foot thumping because that's how hard I'm doing it. Or, like, again, I'll usually, like, just tap some fingers and stuff, which is, like, part of why I listen to music when I work, because it helps keep me focused. But again, the way the internet romanticizes certain neuroatypical disorders is, like, I don't like the way they over-exaggerate. Like, I don't get offended by it, but I'm like, you could not over-exaggerate to romanticize or do this thing where you try and be all like, oh, it's cute and funny and quirky. Like, no. Some people genuinely have it so bad they genuinely can't fucking think. Like, I'm classified as high functioning because I generally work well enough that you can't even tell until I talk about it. But because of that, for example, I don't have to be medicated. But there are people who do have to be medicated because for them, their brain just doesn't work. Like, it can function, but like it doesn't let them focus. Their thoughts are always a mess. For some people, ADHD is fucking horrendous because it's like it just does not allow function to even work. And it's why they got to be like medicated and stuff. Like, again, I don't got to be medicated because I was registered high functioning, so they just didn't feel a need to do it. I've never been asked actually if I'm on medication for my brain. Okay, yeah, me and Gatch are just kind of talking about a mutual thing, so no big deal. I'm not trying to be too hard into it, respect and all that, but it's whatever. But it's just like, one thing that I remember actually, back in middle school, because this was after I was diagnosed, me and another ADHD, and me, autistic, high functioning, and then there was another kid who I think was ADHD. We actually got put into this school's like buddy program that they did for the special needs kids. In hindsight, I feel patronized as fuck for having been put into that program that would pull me out of classes for a time. Not because I felt bad about being around special needs kids. They were genuinely awesome kids. But, like, I functioned as well as any other student. I focused in class. I had good grades. And still, because I had this diagnosis, the school basically said, we don't know what to fucking do with this kid. His grades are fine. He works well in classes. We just don't know what to fucking do with him. So we're just going to toss him into this buddy program to say we're doing something with the autistic kid. And, like, thankfully, when I was in high school, even though I'm pretty sure they had those records and they knew, they never felt the need to put me into any of those special kid programs. So that was nice. But, like, in hindsight, having that happen in high school felt patronizing as hell. It's like I didn't need to have a buddy system. I just needed to be left to my devices to do my classwork. But it's like, it's one of those things. It is funny though, because to kind of make it a less hefty topic, middle school is actually kind of where I started writing. Like, I was big in middle school, especially. In middle school and high school, I was big into the Warrior Cats and Maximum Ride books. They were like the main things I read at the time because I was going between all sorts of different books at the time as a kid. I'm pretty sure like I read pretty much all of Harry Potter in elementary school. I read Percy Jackson after that, which was way better, by the way. And then during middle school, after Percy Jackson, I moved on to the Warrior Cats and Maximum Ride books. So I got my start writing unironically, by writing fan fiction in fucking fucking notebooks by hand. Like, it was not good, by the way. Like, when I was younger, I didn't really know as much about, like, setting up writing as I do now, or, like, even with fan fiction as much as I do now. So, like, when I wrote, I was blatantly just kind of ripping off the OG story as a structure. And so I started, but unironically, the first fan fiction I wrote was basically just a Maximum Ride retelling where I because I was a dumb middle school kid, I basically just lifted the plot wholesale from the original books because, again, a stupid middle schooler who doesn't really know what he's doing. But I hand wrote it in a spare notebook I had. So during my spare time at school or at home, I would just be sitting there working off my memory of the books and writing this whole end book. I forgot how far in I got, but I know I wrote a pretty hefty amount of shit just in this notebook. And I even got one of my teachers to read it. Oh, God. I would never go back to that, though, because, like, objectively, that had to have been the worst stuff I ever wrote. But then I got back into it seriously around high school when I discovered, ironically enough, fanfiction.net. And I was like, I could pit these ideas I've got onto the internet? What? So, like, I realized that in high school, and then I just kind of started going. I started a lot of stuff. Like, I have some friends of mine who have been reader who used to read my stuff all the time when they were a bit younger. And when we were all a bit younger, to be honest. But I definitely had a phase, like during school especially, I think was my highest amount of writing, because I always got my homework done early. So I would just spend my free time just writing a crap ton of stuff all at once. And then I would just like go like, oh, I'd have something to put out every freaking week because I just had the free time to do it. And it's like, oh, so like there's definitely some stuff I wrote that I look back on it. It's like, it's not the worst thing, but it definitely feels like shit that I would not do nowadays. Like, it's just kind of that funky thing. That's the funky thing when you're like a creative and you develop and you grow, is you look back at stuff you did years ago and you're like, I don't think I would do it this way now. Like, if I had to go back and do this again, I would not do it the way I did here. I would change it, I would try to make it better, but like, there's some stuff I looked back on and it's like, huh, you know, some of this stuff wasn't actually that bad. Some of the ideas were pretty okay, but I know now I could definitely do it way better than I did back then. That's actually been why a recent thing for me for the past few years has been like going back to some of my fan fictions and redoing them, like changing up things about characters, giving them more sensible names, because when I was in high school I had a whole phase with names where I tried to be all cool and edgy and was really big into using Latin or Latin sounding shit. It was... I cringe. I'm glad that Japan gave me a word. I was so hard in the chuny phase in like early high school years. I was just big chuny phase. So I would try to give characters fancy sounding Latin-esque names, and it's like I look back on it now, I'm like, God, why was this ever a naming scheme that I used for anything ever? So like that's one of the things where I'm like, yeah, I would never do this now because that's cringe. Like, not a fun kind of cringe, just cringe, you know? It's just, it's not fun cringe. Like, I think there is fun cringe to be had, and it's fun to kind of, like, if you're writing a joke, right? Like, if you're making a story where part of the point is this kind of a parody, I think that's a good place to be a little bit cringe. Because, again, the cringe is in that case part of the joke. But, there is definitely some things that I wrote back then that it's like, I can definitely say I wrote it this way. Because at the time I was here mentally and I wasn't comfortable with certain topics. So I would try to either avoid them and thus write in a reason to avoid that happening with the character at all. And it definitely is not something I probably handled well in hindsight. But again, I can pin that on being a dumb teenager who didn't quite know his full style, how he would do things, all this other stuff. Like, there's one story that I wrote a few years ago now, it's been quite a while actually, where I'm on like my third redo of it, where it's less of a hard redo and, well, okay, it's kind of like a somewhere between a hard reboot and a soft reboot. And it's like, I look back on it and it's like, okay, the first version was definitely not the greatest. This was like at a time where I was still trying to nail how I wrote at all, like my style, the way I did prose, all this other stuff. And at its current version, it is funny because the last version of it I posted was significantly longer, while also not yet covering the same amount of material in terms of like its source material, you could say, where I wrote more, but was also a lot more focused on actually doing it well. Like, I didn't rush through things. I didn't do... This is a fan fiction specific thing, I will say. And I have grown out of this, and I have realized this is a bad way to do a fan fiction. But I would try to say, write a chapter based solely on a single episode of the show that the fan fiction was based on. This, I realized years later, was a bad way to write, because if you were to actually focus on describing details properly, of fully setting a scene, you cannot do simply one chapter per episode unless the chapters are like 8 to 10k words long per, and I think that's a bit too long. Like, again, my average nowadays is like 4k to 5k, but I might go a little bit shorter if I think the chapter has made its point. But, like, when I see fanfiction where chapters are, like, every single one is almost at or over 10,000 words, I'm like, y'all could have chopped this up a little bit, you know? It didn't have to be massive mega chapters that are annoying to read on a web page, because now I gotta somehow remember what particular part of the scroll bar I was at if I have to go and leave. Because you can't bookmark shit on FFN. So, that's part of it. And I've always been guilty of this, well, I wouldn't say guilty, but I've always had this trend when it comes to fan fiction where I won't write stuff that is, like, commonly done. I think I've only done it a handful of times. But there are some fandoms that I'm part of where, like, there are very particular structures that the fan fiction will follow, as if everyone's just agreed this is what you do in a fan fiction for this series. It's weird. And, like, I almost very particularly am prone to having ideas that you don't see most of that fandom do. I think my funniest one, I have to say, was with Twin Star Exorcists. I won't go into too much, but basically, I looked in the fanfiction archive, which wasn't big to begin with. Unfortunately, as much as I like the manga and as good as I think it is a pretty niche thing. There was not a lot of fanfiction with a particular plot line that I had the idea to do. So, naturally, I've started to do this more often. I'll go to an archive, I'll look at the fics in it, see, okay, what do people generally do? 9 times out of 10, it's frickin' ship fics. There's not a lot of full narrative. It depends on the fandom in question. Like, depending on the fandom, you might get 9 times out of 10 ship fics as the majority. But in this case, with this fandom, I was like, huh, okay, this feels like a kind of natural setup you could do as, like, a fandom plot. Basically, let's call it the Dragon Ball Z Trunks plotline. The kid from the future come to the past to try and right the wrongs of a time gone to hell. So for this particular manga, for Twin Star Exorcists, I was like, okay, it feels like you could set this up well. You could set up a whole kid from the future plotline trying to fix the future because, oh, things went to hell in my time and I'm trying to go back to the past to prevent this from happening. You would think that this had been done at least a handful of times by other people, right? I looked into the fanfiction archive and no one had done it. Like, I looked this up and I was like, huh, there was a weird absence of kid from the future fics in this fandom. I might need to change that. Of course, then it's funny because I've actually thought about retooling it and I straight up decided to yeet the kid from the future plot because I've found it much more interesting to base a plot on this reveal that came later in the manga. And I was like, oh wait, that could be just as interesting. Now the problem is Twin Star Exorcists is a monthly manga, so if you ever write a fanfiction for it that is somehow based on the canon, you will run headlong into the fact that 2 months from now, you could get new information revealed that totally upends what you thought was actually going on here. And I was just like, huh, that changes things. But yeah, God, I've been here. You know what? I don't care that I've been here longer than expected. It's fine. It's fun. It's fun to just yap and talk. But the funny thing is, though, for my novel, actually, because I do like telling this story when I can, it was funny because I think I spent a good 3 years developing the basic idea of it. Because I started from one basic idea. And over time, I just kind of refined and thought it through and changed up this element and that element until I reached the point where I was like, okay, I am satisfied with the way that this world and setting works. It started off, unironically, as wanting to do some D&D homebrew settings because me and some friends played D&D. And I wanted to try and have some fun. Maybe make a setting where we could play around in and have our own fun stuff, right? So it started from that idea, of the idea of I both want to make a novel, but I also want to make a roleplay friendly setting. And over time, I developed it out, I changed certain ideas, I got some inspiration from other stuff that I liked, and over the course of maybe 3 years, I eventually settled the basic idea, and then made the first chapter as a way to kind of get my bearings and put feet on the ground of what I wanted this to be and where it would go. And then I did a funny, and I posted it on Fiction Press as a gag, just to see what would happen. And then fast forward like a couple of months later, I get this email from like a agent from the website that it's published on saying, hey, we're interested in publishing your novel. And after spending like maybe a week, I think, talking over it with some buddies online and making sure this was legit and not some kind of scam, that's how it ended up getting to the contract. I made sure it was a non-exclusive contract, both because I would make sure I would have the rights to my stuff and could do what I wanted with it. But also so that way I wouldn't have to worry about deadlines. Because I'm terrible with deadlines. I'm sorry, I can't do deadlines. I can't do a solid deadline. I would fucking die. Okay, gonna switch the music over. Now let's get a little bit more, and let's see if I can at least finish up this bit of the, at least for what I'm gonna divide into the segment. The scene itself is not done, but I am gonna need to like make a scene division. Okay, let's, yeah. Oh, okay, so the background, I pulled this image from VTuber Studio. Okay, so the background image is, one of the apps I used to use for, like, Live 2D stuff. Like, I still have it, I just don't use it much because I don't have a Live 2D model of my own to use with it. Like, I used to use, like, a, Mirage from Apex Legends based, LTD model that was distributed by Respawn as part of, like, this event thing they did. As, like, a joke when they did, like, this anime-themed, event, like, 2 years ago or some shit. So I would use it from this app called VTuber Studio. That's basically like the big thing that VTubers use when it comes to like live 2D model rigs and capture, right? So this is one of its default backgrounds. So I pulled the image from the files and just kind of set it up because I basically set it up. This and the chair image are both from the app as just a default, so that way I could have like a chatting. I made a scene out of this so that way I could like swap between stuff. Like for example, this is for example my basic wait, am I double? No. Okay, so for example, this is like the overlay that I'll use when I'm like gaming. But I want to have something set up for when I'm just like sitting and chatting. So that way it's like, I can have this stuff set up and be what it is. Because I've learned a lot of the tricks about how to use OBS properly. Like different scenes for like different elements. That way you can like just press a toggle and you switch between like my start screen, my end screen, my be right back. And then my two, and in this case, my two different, overlay stuff. So this is, again, this is for chatting. This is for when I'm gaming. See, one thing I will point out with this overlay, the black box where the chat is, that's actually for a webcam, for like a face cam. But obviously, because I use a model, I don't need to use that. So technically speaking for this set, this is actually technically, the chair is technically a toggle. Yes, it is in fact its own image prop that I set up as part of the background. Like, basically, so for this, where I have it set, the chair is basically just a prop. I can remove it entirely and just have myself standing on the street. But I do think it's funny to have a gamer chair just in an open, dark street. It is funny. If I had a proper like bedroom image, I would definitely use it. But I can basically just toggle it on and off. I can move it around. I can resize it, do all that stuff. So yeah, not a toggle, but definitely there. So that's kind of the form for that. Let's see. Oh yeah, no. There is a reason why. I had the chair because it was in fact funnier with the chair. The chair does in fact make it funnier. Like, oh, why am I outside in a chair? Because it's funny. Like, let's just imagine it's just like, yeah, no, I'm just on a street corner with a gamer chair. What's up? Let's see. Oh yeah, no, like I did have a of the chair assets that VTuber Studio has. There are some different colors, but I picked the black and white one because it just matched. It just matched the color palette of the model that I went with. So of this model that I put it together myself. I don't need to act like it's like, oh, something. No, I picked this. I chose black and white for a reason. Is funny. So oh, I just go to nah. I'm having fun. I'm fine chatting. I'm fine going over what I set up. Because that was just to make sure for some stuff in the app. It's whatever. Here for a little bit longer. Again, I at least want to finish this scene. The strange ether. Okay, let's see. Freaking had to adjust so... Freaking had to adjust so that everything appropriately went kind of Okay, let's look at some other stuff. Okay. Let's see. To be fair, I'm making good progress. Let's see, how much have I done in total, actually? Pull up past one full page. Okay, about 877 words. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. There's some days, like, okay, so the other day, actually, I went back to writing one of my other fanfictions for Xenoblade 2. And I wrote a chapter because I was getting through, like, a big fight, right? And in that session, like, that full session, I took some breaks in between, but I wrote, like, 3,000 words in basically one go, and I was like, I forgot how easy this one actually is to write for me. Solely because when I get to a moment and I get into a good feel for it, it just kind of goes naturally. Part of it's just because I'm basically retelling scenes from a goddamn RPG. But, you know, it's just kind of interesting when it happens. I have reached a point, though, in that one that's actually really interesting. Because I'm finally at the point in the narrative where some of the changes I made early on, because of the style of fanfiction I write, I tend to write, like, OC insertion and stuff like that. Where the changes that I made early on are starting to finally pay off in the big midpoints of the narrative, and there'll be even more payoff when I hit like the proper late game. I don't know why the music freaked out there, but basically, I'm at the point where I'm starting to actually see actual payoff for the extra shit I'm doing, and it's actually really fun. Like, one of the big things I'm doing now is I had to introduce a new character because I changed an element of the storyline where the character who used to be in this spot is actually with the main character, is now with the main characters. And so because I made this change, I now had to fill in that slot with a character who effectively plays the same role, but has a very different nature. So it changes basically this entire section of the storyline from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, solely because now there has been a massive change in the context of this entire situation. And I think it'll be really interesting to walk through, because it's going to make certain scenes of this particular, like, segment of chapters in the game so much different than they were before. And I'm very interested to do it, because I think it's the first one of the... I've had some changes before, changes in context, but they were, like, simple, easy changes that didn't do a whole lot. But I feel like this one will be where I'm going to actually get a lot more big, wider, sweeping narrative changes, to where maybe something that gets revealed later gets revealed sooner, again, and where certain character interactions have now radically altered because the context behind it has forever changed. So it was a fun thing to do. It's like my favorite kind of style of fanfiction, right? Okay, let me at least finish this line so I can say good on OG writing for now. I think I just do YouTube because I prefer it, honestly. Like, I tried Twitch for a little bit and I didn't hate it, but with the way Twitch is currently, I don't quite know if I would, like, perform well there. Like, it's partially the environment of Twitch, right? Twitch has an environment that is not very friendly if you're new, and I think it's because, like, every time I hear something about Twitch, it just turns me off from it even more. Like, I have a couple of friends who stream on Twitch, and they're great. My friends who stream on Twitch are great, not gonna lie. But, like, for me, every time I hear about, like, some new Twitch drama or some new rule update, I'm just like, I don't want to have to potentially deal with that, because I feel like I would unintentionally hit something, and I'd just do worse. YouTube has its own problems, do not get me wrong. YouTube is just as guilty as Twitch of a bunch of bullshit. But, at least here, I feel like I can do my thing and not have to worry about some weird arbitrary thing tripping me up because, I don't know. Because it's the best kind of feigns, like, because it's like the same sort of feigns on my, reality model too. I actually have the, feigns. It is not cat, it is fox. It's not cat, it is fox. This is a foxtail behind me, not a cat tail. So it is fox instead of cat. Unfortunately, these ears are not quite fox, but it's what VTuber Studio had. Again, I had to work with what I could, because... yeah. So, but yeah, no, my decision to stream on YouTube instead of Twitch mostly comes down to, I have tried it, but every time I've, like, thought about it again, the current modern Twitch environment just kind of turns me off from it. Like, people who are established on Twitch are good, but I feel like I'm just, like, eh. Again, I could probably try and go back, but I just don't feel it. So, and plus, I'd rather stick to YouTube. I just have fun. It's like, I'm just here to have fun. My mindset with this has always been, if I ever hit the point where I have, like, the numbers in the audience to make this an actual job and thing I can do, then great. Fantastic. I will absolutely love that, but, you know, I'm not too big on caring for that. Like, if I get there, then I get there. And I think I'm doing pretty okay for myself. It's mostly, like... I mean, sometimes, like, I'll just do lazy, like, it's the reason why I have some reaction content on my channel, for example, because, like, it's easy, it's lazy to do, but it is fun to kind of, like, for example, when I do reaction content, I try to be more of a discussion sort about it. Like, I'll try to pause, give my thoughts, actually, what I think about it. Like, this is why, like, I've done, like, 40K stuff, right? Because that's actually fun to, like, listen to someone talk about it, tell you about certain lore, and then pause and give your own thoughts based on either what you're learning. Well, yeah, I mean, look, I watch Sino too, and I think it's fucking hilarious, and his chat's freaking weird. Sino's chat is bizarre. But then again, you can say that about a lot of VTuber chats. Like, I follow plenty of VTubers as is, and every time I'm like, the chat entity, the collective entity that is known as chat, is astonishing per individual fandom, right? Like, I think there's a reason why, like, bigger VTubers will have, like, a fandom nickname, because that effectively becomes a collective nickname for, again, the eldritch entity that is chat. And that is how I like to view it. I view chat as an eldritch entity because chat can be a collective of hundreds of people effectively working in harmony, and it just becomes an abomination of nonsense in the best way. Like, for example, this is old as hell, and I'm about to date how old I fucking am by saying I know this, and it is Twitch Plays Pokemon. Twitch Plays Pokemon is an old as shit, like, the earliest days of streaming, right? So, TV tropes, Twitch Plays Pokemon. So, to give context about what this was, right? Twitch Plays Pokemon was basically you could say it was a social experiment. Right? Oh, I've had some weird people pop in my chat every now and again. I get a lot of weird shit. I cannot comprehend comments about my voice. According to people in my audience, and those I know, I have a very nice voice. I've been told I have a content creator voice. So I've never understood the concept. I think it's just because of the way I was taught to speak as a kid, and it just carried over to when I got older. But to stay on topic right now, basically, back in 2014, someone, I don't remember who, ran effectively a social experiment known now as Twitch Plays Pokemon. The entire setup was basically that the Twitch chat would have various tools set up to where the chat could control a game of Pokemon Red. Like the old Pokemon from like the fucking 90s on the old Game Boy. That old shit, right? So basically, you pretty much just had a chat fighting over the controller, trying to decide where to go, what to do in battle. And at its peak, this was like 100,000 people playing a single game of Pokemon. And this resulted in like some hilarious memes. Like the reason why one of the most massive memes in Pokemon is Praise Helix originates from Twitch Plays Pokemon. But it's like, so this is like one of the classic examples of what I call chat the eldritch entity. Because if you can band together that many people to play a game of Pokemon and the chaos that results from that, oh boy, that is astonishing. God, I don't know why the music from the app I have in the background is cutting out. It's being weird. Whatever, who cares? But like there, like from some like Porcelain Maid, for example, Joel, he's really fun actually. It's really funny. He keeps his chat in a cage, and his chat hates it when he takes them out of the cage. It's a really funny bit, actually. I think it's one of my favorite like VTuber to chat bits is chat has a cage, they like the cage, don't take them out of the cage. It's like, God, it's like, okay. It's like, yeah, okay, I get that, I guess. I understand. But, oh no, okay, so the voicing actually reminded me of something. So, like, years ago, not that many years ago, a couple of years ago, I was, you know, back when I still lived with my, not speaking English, back when I still lived with my folks, some words are hard, I would often, like, house sit over the weekend for them when they wanted to, like, go visit relatives out of state, because, you know, they have a bunch of dogs. It was just easier to have the kid who still lives at home watch the dogs, because, okay, hey, you can stay over the week, okay, hey, you know, you'll be here for the weekend, so we got nothing to worry about. So, like, I would often just, like, take my, one or two of my consoles out to the living room and play it out on the big TV, instead of my own TV or my PC. And one time, I was playing Sea of Thieves, right? I was in, like, an open lobby because I don't have friends. I don't have enough friends who play online shit to party up with, basically. And so I was in an open ship lobby and got this, like, younger kid, maybe, like, 10, 12, going by the voice. His voice had not yet dropped, so he still sounded all high and squeaky. So definitely younger kid. He asked me straight, and this was, like, back during the time where I, like, on and off posted Let's Plays on YouTube's. And this kid straight up, while we were over mics, just on comms, was like, are you a YouTuber? And I was like, I mean, not really. Why do you ask? And he was like, well, you sound like a YouTuber is all. And I was like, thanks, I guess? I don't know what you mean by that, but thanks. So this has mystified me for years since, and I brought it up with another one of my buddies who was like on and off streamer too. I don't think he's been on vacation for a while, but I asked him one day, I was like, dude, what the hell do people mean when they say I sound like a YouTuber? And he was like, I think it's because like you just sound like a content creator, like you have a very clear, direct way of speaking. And I'm like, that's just how I fucking talk. It's like, dude, that's just how I talk normally. What do you mean content creator voice? This is just how I talk. So it's just a really funny thing. I've never understood it. And again, well, that's what Joel does. That's what Joel does. So you gotta get Monarch. So you gotta get Monarch when he does shit. But it's like, it's always a weird experience for me because I'm one of those people who, like, I hear my voice from recordings and I've always never, like, I don't hate my voice, but I've always never, like, understood when people go, oh, I think it's a nice voice. I think it's actually kind of attractive. And I'm like, is it? Because I've heard myself and I don't know. I don't know. So it's just a case of me probably not being, like, not having that much confidence in myself, but I don't know. Maybe I would get it eventually, but I don't know. Let's see. See to me. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, I think that's a good line to stop on. Let's see, in total that is what? 917 words, and in total this segment is... about 1007. Okay, that's good. That's a good segment to post on. Yeah, no. Always gotta call Mom when Papa Joel does some shit. Yep, okay. Cool. Cool, so I got the segment to where I needed to freaking make sure I have something to post up next week, too. Success! And hey, you know what? I'm fine spending time yapping. Jesus. Gotta stretch. Okay. Well, you know what? This is fine, actually. This is fine. Not quite 2 hours, but hey, you know what? This is nice. This is fun. I like chatting like this. So, tomorrow, hopefully I can sort some shit out with my internet so the signal isn't too bad. Though, granted, it's not like this has been bad since I started it back up, thankfully. But tomorrow, then, it's gonna be back to, the Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm definitely gonna start sooner tomorrow, though, because I do want to try and play for a decent amount of time, because I am trying to do a bunch of story progress. I am at the point, I've done my grinding. I should be good on grinding for the rest of the game, hopefully. I'll just have to see, because I don't know, how much level spikes happen currently. So we'll see when I get there. Oh yeah, the Ahoge? Yeah, no, the Ahoge. You have the little hair antenna? Yep, had to add one of those. But yeah, no, so tomorrow, though, I'm definitely going to do another episode of Yakuza Like a Dragon, because, again, trying to clear that off my game stuff after I've already gotten some other stuff. One thing I do want to do, though, because I do want to talk about some streaming plans before we're done, is I kind of, because I did stream some Elden Ring earlier, like, about a month ago, because I want to do, because when it drops in a couple of months, I'm going to stream the DLC, for example, and I'm also going to be streaming, like, Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, because those both come out around the same time, so those are definitely going to be on my list, but those aren't for a couple more months. So, leading up to those, however, one thing I do want to do, because again, I streamed some Elden Ring to, like, do some shit to, like, hey, I'm trying to prepare for the DLC with a new character. Let's stream some of it. Like, the major stuff I need to get done. Have some fun with this, right? And then maybe I'll stream some more with that character. Like, I kind of want to stream some more with that Elden Ring character. Like, oh, hey, I'm about to fight Melania. Let's stream that, right? Let's like, stream me going through the Heya tree and fighting Melania. So I'll probably do that. That's definitely going to be when I get back to some Elden Ring, like, after I get to the Heya tree, because the snowfield is bored as sin. But I do kind of, and I tried to do this a few years ago, and I fell off it because I couldn't stream well at the time. I do want to play the other Souls games, right? Like, I do want to do a full playthrough of Dark Souls 1, of Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, Dark Souls 3, Demon Souls, because I have the remake on my PS5. I do actually though, one of my favorite things to say that I own, I do actually have a PS3 copy of Demon Souls. I am glad I own it. I found it at a GameStop like 2 years ago, and I was like, I have to buy it. I have to. I cannot let the chance slip up. I've been looking for this game. It has been impossible to find otherwise. I have to buy it. So I did. So I can at least gladly say I do own these games. Most of them physical. Most of them digital, most of them physical. I do kind of... I'm a big proponent of trying to get physical copies of games. Like, if later... Like, I don't have Elden Ring... I have Elden Ring on my PC. But if they come out with, like, an Elden Ring... like, an edition of Elden Ring on PS5 that has, like... that has Shadow of the Erdtree by default, I'll probably buy that so I can have a physical copy of the game with all that shit pre-packaged on the disc. But, like, you know, I do want to, like, I like to have stuff physically, just in the event of, like, oh, hey, I don't have an internet connection right now, and I don't know if the system will be fine with me accessing my stuff without an internet connection, because stuff is fucking weird now. But is that so? I do think, and again, one thing I will keep doing is, again, because I did finish No More Heroes 1 last weekend, I do want to start No More Heroes 2, so that's something I'm going to do. So I do want to do basically that. I want to do Dark Souls, I want to do the Soul series. I can do Bloodborne because, again, I have that in PS5 backwards compatibility. So that's kind of some of my plans for the near future. But it is definitely like once summer hits, and once I can actually fucking buy them. So hopefully I'll probably pre-order those next, because me and my sister are finally going to be getting out of like our kind of shitty financial situation, because she got fired from her job last month and only just got back to work like this week. So hopefully partway through this month and definitely next month, I should be able to get that stuff to prepare, because once summer hits, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, because I wanted to do that from like New Game, and then Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, because a new expansion means new shit to do, and that will be fun. Because I did kind of, like, part of my early, like, experimentation with streaming, actually, like, I did actually stream some of Final Fantasy XIV on Twitch. This was before I went to VTuber, when I actually would use a face cam. So I did actually spend some time doing Final Fantasy XIV. The VODs actually still exist on a secondary channel of mine, but, they're old as sin. Old as sin, didn't have a good camera, didn't have a good setup, it's whatever. But I do want to do Dawn Trail. Like, part of what I've done is I actually did get caught back up recently with like my FC and stuff, because I wanted to be prepared, right? It's like, okay, I haven't done any of the update stuff, so I need to get that done. Like, I did actually stream some of that. That was actually part of what I did to motivate myself. I did actually stream it. So that I talked about this in a short I posted, but part of why I got into streaming actually is to force myself to complete games, because I game like a maniac. Like, I'll flip between the multiple games at a time, ill-advised. And so part of why I took up streaming was because it means, hey, I need to actually try to finish this game now. So it's why, for example, the last couple of years, why I did like full series playthroughs, like why 2022 was mostly like the year of Yakuza, I guess I could say. No, that was 2020. Yeah, no, that was 2022 for me. Was like, I played through Yakuza 0, Kiwami 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6, and then took a massive break from Like a Dragon after I started it. And then 2023 was like, oh, let's play Kingdom Hearts, because I have that collection, but I've only played like through 2 of the games in full. At least the ones that are on there. So, well, 3 technically. So I was like, you know what, let's just play through all of these in like order of release. So I played through 1, I played through Chain of Memories, I played through 2, I played A Dream Drop Distance, I played Birth by Sleep, and then I did 3. And I recently finished that like a couple of months ago, because it's funky, weird, silly, haha. Silly, haha. But yeah, so that's kind of some of my plans for like games. And I do want to try and do more chat stuff. I do want to try and more often, like, when I get back from work, just set this up, just be like, hey, it's late, I want to chill, let's just see who stops by to yap, you know? And also get some writing in. Like, this is mostly why, like, the chat stream, like, I'll start this up and usually, like, use it as a way to help me write, because, hey, you know, it's fun like that. Fun to just kind of occasionally get some work done while having people to talk to. It is what it is, it's the fun. So, that said, time to stop shop. And I will see some of y'all, hopefully tomorrow, probably earlier than nighttime, so that way we can get back to fucking Yokohama with Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm probably going to do a bit more than that, because I did do some grinding today, and also finding a bunch of stuff on the map, because I remembered, oh yeah, if I want to open up the fast travel points for the taxis, I need to actually physically find the taxi first. Which is why I'm on chapter 12 of the game, and barely have half of the fast travel points open up from my phone, because I'm just dumb. I did save a spot. I did actually, funny thing, when I was grinding, right? I forgot the part that these games will often, like, you'll get near an objective zone, and then the game will pull you into a cutscene for a while. So I had to hard exit the game to get back to my last autosave before that cutscene. It's like, oh crap, no, I'm missing story details, fuck! Anyway, yeah, I think we're good now. I'll just probably chill some other stuff more tonight, you know, because, you know, I'm not going to be going to bed for a few more hours. I got work tomorrow. I can stay up as late as I want. I say that I'll probably go to bed around midnight. I try not to stay up too late. Well, well, good night to you all, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.